and welcome to Career Spotlight with Vanessa Ajimai. Happy New Year to anyone joining in today. So, this is the first video of the year, and what better person to open it up than with my brother Emmanuel Moore. So, Emmanuel is a technology consultant. I'm not going to say much more. And yeah, we'll go straight into it and find out more about what he does and what his career journey's been like so far. So, Emmanuel, thanks for agreeing.
Yeah, there's no worries. I'm happy to be here.
Cool. So we'll go straight into it. In a sentence, how would you describe what you do to someone?
So as a technology consultant, I'm basically a jack of all trades. So you oversee the running of projects, you manage stakeholder relationships. You may have to be designing and critical infrastructure for different IT services, and also creating financial reports. And there's much more as well.
Cool, thanks. And in terms of what you do, is there like any common misconceptions about it or that you may even have had?
So before I joined, I thought as a consultant, you do a lot more traveling than you actually do. So the majority of traveling that you do is mainly to clients' offices, which are mainly situated in London, and there may be somewhere around the country as well. But I thought there was a lot more international travel. But I think that was the case pre-COVID, but nowadays not really as common. But I did get to travel to Dublin last year, so I was pretty lucky to be able to leave the country. So yeah, I'd say the traveling aspects of the job.
Okay, cool. Are you in the Gen Z group?
Yeah.
Okay, I asked that just because in your group, I think there's evidence that you guys are supposed to be much more entrepreneurial. Do you currently have any business ventures?
So yeah, I'm currently working as a tutor at a local Saturday school. So I teach primary school and secondary school kids mainly. I teach them maths and science, and I also have my own website business where I create websites for people, also help them understand how hosting works, also SEO, and a number of other things related to their online branding and their logos and things of that nature.
Cool. So what made you kind of get into the whole website?
Mainly due to boredom, really. I didn't really, I wouldn't say I'd had like a big burning desire to get into websites. I just found myself having a lot of free time. So I
Uh-huh.
thought I'd try and make a bit of extra money. So I found a YouTube video which explains the process of making websites, and I thought it was something that I could do. So I learned how to do it pretty quickly so within like a couple of weeks. And yeah, I was able to get started and made a few websites for people close to me, such as family and friends. And I was eventually able to start my business around the middle of last year, and it's taken off ever since.
That's good to hear. Nice. That's what we like to hear. So, in terms of like CV and CV building, at which point did you kind of decide to start working on it, or what kind of prompted you?
So I started mainly working on it during the summer before my final year of uni. And the reason I started working on it during then was because at the start of your university year, that's usually the time when graduate applications open up. And I was also lucky enough to be part of an organization called the Rare Recruitment, which is an organization which helps university students to get into corporate roles such as investment banking, consulting, and other similar types of corporate roles. And they were really big on pushing everyone to start working on their CVs. So they held a lot of workshops, and they also done a lot of interview practice. And they basically helped me a little bit navigate through the process of creating my CV and put in terms of putting what I need to put in and what not to put in. So they were a really big help. But yeah, it's mainly due to the fact that graduate applications usually open around October till November times, September to November times. So
Cool. And for the purposes of the audience, what subject did you do at A level and then finally for uni as well?
so at A level I studied maths, biology, and chemistry. Then at university I studied chemistry, which is completely unrelated to my role right now. But there's a lot of overlap that you might not think about. But yeah.
Yeah, that kind of leads into what I wanted to ask next, which is pretty much what kind of formed that movement from going from sciences and then into tech?
So basically, in my final year, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left uni. So I searched online for like advice from people, and then I found a quiz which was targeted towards people in a similar situation to me, so people in university. And then so I done the quiz, and it was like a career quiz, basically telling you what careers would be most suited to you. And all five of the careers that came out were all tech related. So I thought I might as well try and pursue a career in technology. And during my degree, we also learned how to code in Python. So that I already had a bit of exposure to technology. So I'd researched a few of the roles that were on the list. And so that's how I was able to make the transition into technology.
Nice. And how did you find that transition then?
Um, I want to say it's been too difficult because a lot of like when it comes to roles, obviously you need to like have the skills to actually work with certain different technologies, but a lot of the skills that you need are soft skills such as communication skills, also written skills as well, which I believe that I've been developing during my time at university and all the different jobs I was working while I was at university. So I wouldn't say the transition was hard. I feel like the only thing that was hard about it was sometimes the hours that you work. So especially in the beginning training phase of my role, we had to work a lot of long hours to make sure we knew like what we're going to be doing during the job. And also when it comes to certain projects, the hours can be extremely long as well. But yeah, I guess the only difficult things is sometimes you might be asked a question where you're not really too sure, or you have to go back and do some research and then come back to the person the next day. So you can be put on the spot a lot. But overall, I want to say the transition, I guess another big transition that was kind of hard was moving away from a uni schedule where sometimes I'll be sleeping at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to having
Yeah.
to be awake for the hours of 9 to 5 every single day. So that was quite a big change.
Do you have any preference when it comes to the working environment, whether like hybrid, working from home or on site?
So I mainly prefer working from home, but I do like coming into the office sometimes to socialize with other people in my graduate scheme, but I just prefer working from home because when it comes to, for example, like eating food, in my office, there's only one fridge. There's no fridge. There's only one microwave, so you can't really bring in food. And if I wanted to eat out, I'd have to go to a nearby restaurant, which has a massive queue and also charges exorbitant prices. So I just prefer to stay at home and make my food from there. And it's just a lot more convenient. Like when I finish my work, I can literally just go out the rest of my day and don't have to worry about the commute and having to be in a cramped train. But it's also good to sometimes go into the office and socialize and network with other people that you might not usually speak to. So I do go to the office maybe like a once or twice a week, but I mainly prefer working from home.
Yeah, and I think there's been much more of a move ever since COVID. And yeah. So in terms of if we go back to kind of securing a graduate role initially,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, for me personally, it was just a long process, but how did you find that whole process?
So yeah, at the start of the process was very, very hard. That was mainly due to the fact that I didn't really know what role I was doing, so I was just mass applying to different roles. And so I'm guessing the quality of my applications wasn't that good because I guess my heart wasn't fully in the roles I was applying to. My CV wasn't tailored towards the roles specifically, and the answers I was putting into the applications weren't tailored in. But as I started to narrow down the roles and was able to be a part of a few CV workshops and have an interview prep, that made the process a lot easier. And also receiving feedback from the applications which were rejected just made me able to hone down what I needed to get down on my CV and tailor it specifically to what was needed to actually get the role. So doing a lot of research on the company was really key as company when it comes to first your CV, you really need to make sure that what's on the job description is like linked to your CV as well. And also when it comes to the interview, they really want to know that you've like researched and looked at every single part of the website because that's your main source of information. So that was quite important as well. And also doing well on the assessments is really important as everyone that's applying to the role is at a pretty similar level of ability. So they need some way of like picking through the crowd. So you can't really go into assessments without practicing. That was quite a big mistake that I made, thinking that I could just go into an assessment without practicing because you really need to have like the best scores possible for you to even be considered as well. So I guess having a practice of assessments, tailoring your CV towards the actual role and doing a lot of research, just any where you can find it. So whether that be on the internet or from YouTube videos on a company is really, really important for landing a role.
Yeah, that's good advice. Sometimes not knowing what you're going to do can be quite worrying. You mentioned obviously you got to a point where you were coming to an end of your studies, but kind of had to figure out what you wanted to do. What would kind of be your advice for students who are planning their careers and might also be worrying because they're like in the same boat pretty much, don't have any clue what they want to do or become?
Yeah. I guess one thing I'll say is that the degree that you do doesn't really have much reflection on the career that you're gonna have eventually because there's people in different types of careers which have degrees which are completely unrelated, so that's not really that much of a hamper. I guess you really need to reflect on your skills and what you like doing day to day, and also if you're really that stuck, if you're also stuck as me, you can like find a quiz online that'll give you, it gives you like a long list of questions that you answer. It'll give you like a breakdown of how you are as a person, how you like to work, and the roles that will be best suited for you, and also talking to people who have been in a similar situation to you. So other people who have been on your course and have graduated and gone on to do other roles, networking with them on LinkedIn or even in person can be a great way of finding out what you can do. So yeah, I guess the main thing is not to panic, that there's definitely a role out there for you if you put in the time and effort to do the research to find that role.
Nice. So, for your degree, you got a first. Do you have any kind of study hacks that you would like to share?
So I guess just my study hacks are mainly specific towards STEM degrees. I'm not really sure how to answer that question for humanities, but
Hmm.
so for my degree, I used to, for my first year, I mainly took notes, like wrote down what the lecturer said, my own words, and wrote that down and had a massive folder of all those notes. I found that quite ineffective, and I knew that the content was going to be a lot more larger compared to first year. I knew that my second and third year was going to be a lot more content, so I didn't really see it as feasible to continue doing it in the same way. So I found the method where I found a method of instead of actually writing notes, I would write questions instead. So like if a lecturer said a point, I would turn that into a question and then have the answer in my lecture notes and annotate the lecture notes instead. So by the end of my second and third year, I just had a massive bank of questions which I was able to use to practice. And so I basically turned them into exam questions and was able to basically do exam prep all throughout the year. So that was basically my method. So yeah, I didn't really write notes in my second and third year at all. And also just making sure you do all the extra work that the tutor gave you. Also getting in contact with your tutor or lecturer. Um, if you have a problem where you're really stuck on, then just emailing them or going to them in person. Because well, I don't know how it's at other unis, but the lecturers at my uni were really keen on helping you and they'll take time out of the day to sit down and go through a problem with you. So that was a really big help. And also collaborating with your friends and going to the library to work on like really hard problems can also be a great way of learning and also doing exam questions. So like real exam questions of past exams from previous years if that's available to you. So but that's not always available, which is why I suggest doing the exam question method, but that's like quite a big change. So you really like should test it out and see if that works for you before you like pursue that.
Sure. Were you still able to have a good social life?
Uh yeah, so I think my situation at uni was pretty unique as I knew quite a lot of people before I knew quite a lot of people that were going to the uni as well as me. So I didn't really have any issues with that. And also I was able to make a lot of friends through doing a number of activities such as football. So yes, at uni is like the best place to really make have a social life and build your network because it's pretty much going to be the most free you're going to be for the rest of your life. So you really need to take advantage of those spare weekends and the extra time that you have after your day. So yeah, I would say I was, but in my first year, because I started my first year in COVID, I wouldn't say it was as good as my second and third year, as a lot of things were locked down. So like there was no, like nothing really open to like places like the cinema, bowling, places like that wasn't really open, and especially in the beginning of my first year, and we were encouraged to stay inside a lot. So I wouldn't say it was as good as my second and third year, but now that we're out of lockdown, I guess uni is really the best place to have an amazing social life, and you should take advantage of that.
Yeah, cool. I've got two true or false statements to make, then you can answer it however you like. So, first one is that you need to know everything about tech to succeed in a consulting role. True or false?
I'll say that's false. Because technology as as a career is a role, or any role in technology, you're signing up for a career of lifelong learning. As technology is always changing, there's always new news related to technology coming out. But there's also a lot of new certifications and courses that are available to be taken. So I guess that's definitely false. You always need to make sure you're up to date with the latest and greatest in technology. And also, I wouldn't say there's any consultant that knows everything. That's not really what you're expected to do as a consultant. You're supposed to have like a very good and solid knowledge in any field in technology. You should be able to converse with people that are much more technical than you and be able to manage relationships and also communicate with clients. That's a skill that you need to develop. So I guess it's better to be a journalist and have a good knowledge in a number of different areas than to specialize in one specific area if you're a consultant, as you're going to be in a number of different areas and projects change from project to project a lot. So I want to say you need to know everything. There's also always the opportunity to ask questions as well. And even senior people, they wouldn't say that they know everything. They just have good enough knowledge to be able to speak to people about their field. Yeah, so we also have a lot of different tools available, like such as Google's AI has really become big. There's a lot of different AI tools which you can use to help build up your knowledge as well. So yeah, you don't need to know everything.
And then the next one is networking is more important than grades. True or false?
Yeah, I'll say that's definitely true as well, because for a lot of graduate schemes, they all have the same grade requirements. I haven't really seen any graduate schemes which specifically only accept you if you have a first class. So that's not really the be all and end all. I guess can be a differentiator, but if you have solid grades, it's really about you as a person, your soft skills, and also social skills like communication, your written skills. So you have an examples of where you've demonstrated that whether that be through jobs they've done on the side during uni, or maybe societies they've been a part of, or maybe you've written or helped write a newsletter for a society or something of that nature is really important to highlight. And also having showing that you have a real passion for the industry, that's quite a massive thing. So the way you're able to do that is by through projects that you've done in your own time or courses. So like I said, projects. So you can take out time out of your week or your day to do a specific project where you're learning a skill and then having the ability to actually complete the project and maybe even put it on LinkedIn, or if you're an engineer, for example, putting that on GitHub and having the ability to talk about the projects to someone that's got no clue about it. That's quite an important thing. So you need some way to show that you're actually passionate about the industry to succeed. And in terms of networking, I guess for my role, that really came about through networking because I was part of Rare Recruitment, like I mentioned earlier, and were the ones that reached out to me about this opportunity. Um, so yeah, I'll say through having that strong network, I was able to, that helps me a lot in terms of getting the role that I have right now.
Cool. That concludes my question. Do you have any final words?
Yeah, so I'll say that if you're in your final year or approaching final year and you don't know what you're going to do after you graduate, then you shouldn't panic. That's the worst thing to do. Like you're considered a graduate even after you graduate, so up to 4 to 5 years. So you're even eligible to apply to graduate schemes and internships after you finished uni. So there's no need to panic. There's a lot of ways of working out what you want to do. You just need to put in the time and effort to find out, and also reflect in yourself on what you feel like you're best at, and you'll be able to find out what you're good at doing really quickly.
Great pointers. Right. Thank you so much once again for agreeing to come and share. For those listening or watching, make sure as well that you subscribe if you haven't already to the channel, and then you share the video as well to others that might be able to take pointers from this as well. So, yeah, thank you.